Yes, which is the whole reason for the new law.
Right. Right. All right. Well, we are live.
I'm excited.
Right. So I'm picking up a little echo, I think, on your side. Do you hear that?
I'm excited.
Hang
I
on
hear some
one
ba- I hear
sec.
some background talk, but
So
there's
I'm picking up a little echo, I think, on your side. Do you hear that?
yeah, I hear it. I don't know where it's coming from though.
Hang on one sec.
Some background talk, but there's
Okay, maybe it fixed. Can you hear me still?
I can hear you.
All right. I think we got rid of the echo.
Good.
All right. Let's see here. I apologize for the technical
Don't
difficulties
worry.
here.
Don't worry.
All right, cool. Well, we're live. And for everyone that's joining, I'd like to introduce you to Skip Walker, who is a home inspector here in the Bay Area. Always someone that I admired and referred to whenever I have any kind of construction question, any safety concerns. Skip's always my guy. So I kind of wanted to have Skip onto my channel because two of the major issues that we've been running into as realtors is the insurability of properties. One that's really been a huge hurdle is the balcony issues. And two, for single family homes, is knob and tube wiring. So I know Skip has a wealth of knowledge about both of these topics. So, Skip, maybe you can kind of just give a quick intro of yourself and why you are the expert.
So I've been inspecting for about 20 plus years now. Done over 5,000 inspections. I think it's close to 5,500. Co-author a series of building code reference books that are the most widely used books in the United States. We sold about 1.5 million copies of these over the period of time they've been available over the last 30 years, give or take. I've been involved for about the last 7 or 8. So I've got about 9 published books at this point, and I teach residential building codes at College of San Mateo. Been doing that. This is my second year teaching, so that's a little bit of the color on me. Um, in
Excellent.
term,
Excellent. So let's get right to it. Let's first talk about the balcony issue because that's such a big issue right now with condo sales. And we're seeing huge assessments of all these condos, um, quite frankly, because they need to upgrade the balconies to make them more safe. Would you be able to give us a little history on how that even came about?
I can actually. I was one of the expert witnesses on the event that triggered this, which was the Library Gardens balcony collapse back in 2015. That was a real wake up call. 6 people died that night. Another 7 were injured. Subsequently, another of those injured people passed away sadly last year from uh, some of the residual effects of the fall. It was a 4-story fall onto concrete, so no one got away from that unharmed. Um, that building was only 8 years old, if you can believe that. It was built, and the certificate of occupancy was issued in January of 2008, and I want to say it was June or July of 2015 is when um, the the kids ended up getting uh, launched onto the sidewalk below. And as we were going through what happened there, it became really clear that there were some really serious construction related issues with that project. And uh, I'm trying to think of the Berkeley assembly person. I can't think of her name off the top of my head, but Jerry Hill, who was our state senator over on this side, along with the assembly person over on the Berkeley area, co-authored the bill that is now uh, the 721, and then a little bit later, the year later, the 326, which is the one that covers condos, so and common interest buildings. So that's a little bit of the history on it. I mean, it took people dying literally to trigger this. So the intent of the ordinance um, is very, I think, very justified. Recognizing the fact that it is a pretty onerous requirement. A lot of the condos over the years have underfunded maintenance. You see that throughout. It's a systemic problem with associations. Excuse me, associations, and they're in the position right now where they're basically playing catch up ball, which is why the assessments. Um, the Do you want to go into the why, or what
Well,
has to be done, or
no, well, I mean, we'll get to. I have a couple
yeah,
questions I want to ask
sure,
about that because a lot of people obviously are concerned about safety. No one wants to see anybody get hurt.
no,
I
of
think
course not.
realistically, um, but I mean, a lot of people right now seems to feel like it might even be a little overkill right now because we're basically going back to all of these condos that were built in like the 70s and 80s and completely transforming all the balconies to what is current code. Now,
Mhm.
what do you say to those people?
Um, I'd say that I'm surprised that more people haven't died after seeing some of these balconies. I don't do the inspections. I'm not qualified to do the inspections on these things. You have to be a structural engineer or architect to do the inspections. But having seen a lot of what's going on, it just baffles me how more of these haven't collapsed. I've seen some that were just so bad that I had to get a hold of building management to tell them they had to get people to not go out on those assemblies until they got them inspected and repaired. So I know. I mean, and I know it's a lot of money. I know it's a seemingly onerous requirement. But one of the images I sent you earlier, I believe, is a 1960 something apartment building over in San Leandro that had no outward signs of problems. And when they opened up the bottom side to look inside, it was just destroyed. They're so you can be walking on these things and think they're okay, and the reality is, you're it's just I don't even know how to describe it. It's just almost an accident that you're alive. Um, so
Well,
it
and
looking
I do want to stress one other point that you made is that that Berkeley complex was only 8 years old. So
exactly.
there's this misconception that just because it's new, it's safe,
Yep.
right? And
Hmm.
I didn't want to gloss over that point, but I think it's a very important point that we just need to make sure all these balconies are safe, regardless of the age.
Yeah, the balcony at Berkeley started exhibiting problems literally 2 years after the date of construction was finished, and it got ignored. And 6 years after that, you got dead people, and n- the families got a very significant settlement, but no amount of money is going to bring their kids back,
No, 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 no.
and no amount of money is gonna take care of the trauma of literally having fallen 4 stories onto a concrete sidewalk.
Well, Skip,
Um,
well, let me ask you a different question. So now that we've gone through this whole process, however long it took to get SB 326, in the books and now getting applied, now we're going through this whole process of all these balconies getting inspected. I mean, do you feel like the problem now is gone?
no, I I actually, when the ordinance was being written and the codes were being changed to address some of the issues that actually triggered what happened in Berkeley, my feeling was that the code changes wouldn't actually preclude this from happening again. They certainly were an improvement, but the 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 changes they made um, were partially driven. Like, to just be really blunt about it, anytime you get politicians writing building codes, it's a recipe for bad things happening. It, they didn't involve. I don't think they involved the right people in the conversation. And I'm not saying I'm the right person. I'm there were some way smarter people involved in writing the building codes than me, but they made what I think is a fundamental error in that they assumed that if there was a waterproofing system above the framing, that they didn't need to worry about water getting in. And the reality is that water always finds a way in, and they should have treated it accordingly, and they didn't. So my opinion is that it is possible with the current codes for Berkeley to reoccur. Um, obviously not the same, probably not the same building, but those set of conditions could certainly occur because they weren't necessarily related to leakage. There was some conversation about the fact that it was water intrusion problems that caused the Berkeley collapse, and that was contributory, I'm sure. But we were in the middle of an epic drought. If you remember, 2008 to 2015, that's when all the reservoirs were going dry, and so this was actually a moisture from the interior of the building causing the problem.
Mm,
And they took some steps to enhance the ventilation in the assemblies, that will no doubt improve the performance of the balcony assembly. But um, they they didn't require naturally durable or preservatively treated lumber that's very resistant to
mhm.
to rot in the wood framed assemblies when they're enclosed. And that, I think, is going to ultimately cause problems down the road. It may not be tomorrow, may not be next year, but at some point, I think it'll we'll see a failure
But
related to that.
Skip, let me kind of clarify the question because right now, in order to meet the SB 326, they're going through and getting all these civil engineers and getting all these inspections on the balconies. Are you implying that that's still not good enough?
The inspections I think, are adequate. Um, the 9-year interval, that was based on the interval for reserve studies in condos. Probably would be better if those were a little bit closer together, but I understand the rationale for that is because it fits with the schedule that already exists for reserve studies for common interest development. So it just makes sense to do it uh, at the same time. The the
But from a
problem is
safety
the
like we're worried about safety, right?
yeah, the problem is the way that they repair them doesn't necessarily preclude a recurrence of the issue that caused the problem in Berkeley. So it's not the inspections that's that in my opinion is the issue. It's the fact that when they repair them, assuming they're similar to Berkeley, which is a waterproof membrane over a wood framed assembly with stucco underneath it, that type of balcony, which is a really common, you see it all over the place, really common installation. The the set of circumstances that caused Berkeley to occur, it doesn't preclude those from still occurring.
Got it. Got it. Well, let's kind of change gears a little bit. Another big issue here in California specifically is that we're running into problems with insurability of properties for single family homes. And one of the major issues is knob and tube wiring. Now, insurance companies, if they hear that there's knob and tube in a property, there's a high probability they're not going to insure the property. Now, from a home inspector perspective, do you still see knob and tube as a hazard?
I've always taken the position that knob and tube itself isn't the problem. It's what people do to it. It was designed for homes built in the 40s and 30s, 40s and 50s that had one 25 to 40 watt light bulb in the ceiling in the living room and one or two outlets and almost nothing plugged into them, maybe a radio. And now we've got modern homes where there's computers plugged in, there's can lights all over the place. It's just our whole way of life is based around electrical appliances, and that wiring was just never designed with that in mind. And so part of it is it's old, and it's kind of funny in some respects because I've got colleagues all over the United States, and this insurability problem has existed in other states for decades. It's only just starting to come to California, um, and I'm not sure why, because it's not like the insurance companies. I mean, State Farm insures stuff in Illinois as they do in California, and all of a sudden, they wouldn't insure a knob and tube home in Illinois, but they will in California until just recently. So it's twofold. It's an out of date, obsolete wiring system, and I think they finally just decided that the risk wasn't worth the premium cost and or the premium income.
Sure, sure. I mean, but from your experience, I mean, what is the percentage? Do you even know what the percentage of knob and tube actually becomes a hazard?
Well, I don't think there's a percentage per se. I mean,
Okay.
I find knob and tube, if it was built before 1960, it's almost certainly got some knob and tube wiring in it, and that's the bulk of our housing stock. I mean,
Right.
go into. I'm in San Bruno. Go into Lower San Bruno. Go into Burlingame. Go unless that building has been completely, stripped to the studs and rewired from scratch, which certainly has happened. But there's a lot of buildings where they didn't do that.
Yeah.
Then it's probably got some knob and tube wiring in it somewhere. The
Yeah.
only question is, can you find it? So.
What do
Um,
you do as an inspector? I mean, unless you rip down walls, you're not going to be able to find it, right?
Well, we're looking at data construction, and then do I find ungrounded outlets? And then when I get in the attic or in the crawl space, in some cases in the garage, if the walls are still exposed, do I see it there? And then you can start to try to put the pieces of the puzzle together and build a picture of what the house looks like. Almost all of these homes have had some electrical work done on them, so they've had the can lights put in the living room ceiling and in the primary bedroom, and bathrooms have been remodeled, and but we'll still find ungrounded outlets and in a house of that vintage. And to me, that's setting off red flags and bells and whistles that say it's probably got some knob and tube somewhere. The knob and tube in and of itself, if it's used in the constraints it was designed for, I don't see it as a safety issue.
Well, let me
Um,
clarify. Does that mean we all have to just use one light bulb?
well, that's what I mean. It was designed for that in mind.
Okay.
And, when I go into the house and they've got the three prong outlets, stuck in an ungrounded knob and tube, probably knob and tube wiring system, and they've got plug expanders and extension cords coming off of it, which is all too common. That's that creates the problem.
Got it.
If they've got a TV plugged in, it's probably never gonna be an issue.
Let me ask you this. This is something that always kind of interests me. I know when we talk about piping, right? And we always talk about not connecting two separate materials like galvanized pipes with copper pipes. Like that's a
Hmm.
bad thing, right? Is
Right.
that does that work similarly to electrical components? Like you shouldn't have knob and tube with current standards. I don't
Well,
know exactly.
yeah, an interesting question because it's not really the materials that are the problem in the case of knob and tube wiring. The wiring has what's called a temperature rating. So uh, new wiring is designed to take a much higher temperature level before it fails. So it's rated for 90 degrees Celsius, which is roughly 194 degrees
Mhm.
Fahrenheit. Old knob and tube wiring has a 60-degree Celsius rating, which is only about 140. So if you take a new can light, which is got a 90-degree rating, and you connect it to knob and tube directly, um, you literally will burn the wiring, the insulation off the wiring, because it will overheat. Because the can light's designed to run hotter
Mhm.
without causing a problem. It's just because we know how to do it better than we used to. Um, the solution to that is, and there are solutions, is to not directly connect them. You put in um, a section of new wiring to bridge between the can light and the knob and tube wiring, and a foot of that will do it because over that period of distance, the heat dissipates enough that it won't overheat the knob and tube wiring. So um, it is possible to do it. However, when you get somebody with a low skill level putting those can lights in, which is the low bidder kind of situation, um, they kind of skate on the finer points,
Got it.
and uh, usually when we go up, we home inspectors, we're interested in what's in the attic because you're going to see you're going to see a lot of the sins will occur up there.
Right. Well, Skip, that is such great information, and I think I want to sum up the knob and tube. But from what I'm interpreting, I think what you're saying it's unless you plan to just have one TV, one radio, one computer, maybe one light bulb, it's probably a good idea to update the electrical system. Would that be fair?
That's a fair statement.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing about knob and tube, it's an ungrounded system, so it doesn't have the third wire for grounding.
Mm.
So if you plug in a lamp into it, a lamp usually has a two-prong plug on it. It's fine. No harm, no foul. But if you plug in a refrigerator that's got a three-prong on it, that third prong on the appliance tells you I need a ground to work right.
Yeah.
And without that, if you plug a where a ground is required appliance into an ungrounded system, then you're creating a condition where you can get unsafe things occurring.
Yeah.
So
And
the
nobody
key
wants
is,
to see a
yeah,
fire.
no one wants that. I mean, the reason why insurance companies have gotten so been out of shape over this is because they look at their loss runs and see that there's a correlation, not necessarily a causation, but a correlation between homes with knob and tube wiring and fires. And electrical fires account for about, I think the number is like 7% of all fires are electrical sources. So it's a significant amount of money that they're writing checks on, and insurance companies aren't in the business of writing checks. They're in the business of cashing them. So
Right. Right.
um, and bless them. Yeah, there's a need for them, but this is one of these things where the pendulum is swung really far to the no knob and tube, and I think you're going to see it come back a little bit um, as the market. What'll happen is somebody will break ranks. Some insurance company
Yeah.
will break ranks, start writing, and then you'll see other insurance companies come back in, and it'll find some middle ground,
Well,
at least in the near term.
I hope so, because home insurance is hard to get right now.
I know,
So
I know, I
especially
know it.
these older homes.
I know, which is again, it's the bulk of our housing stock.
Yeah.
So it's not like, most of the stuff we have is not built in
Yeah, that's
1964
right.
to current.
Yep. All right, Skip. Well,
All right.
hey, well, thank you very much for joining me. Always a pleasure to speak with you. I know time was an issue for you. You got to jump into another home inspectors or home inspection soon.
Yeah, I got to
So
get to
again,
work.
yeah, pay the bills. All right, Skip. Well,
All
thanks
right.
again. We'll talk soon. Take
Thanks,
care.
Bert. Take care. All right, Bert. Thank you.